Residency programs consider Step 2 to be one of the key hard metrics of your progress in medical school. The new pass-fail nature of Step 1 essentially shifts the pressure to Step 2 CK, making it the major objective measurement for clinical knowledge and assessment, which means it is vital for students to crush it. If not, your chances of matching into a competitive residency are slim. So how do you succeed on this mammoth exam that will determine your residency fate? I'll cover 5 strategies that will ensure you not only succeed in taking Step 2, but that you receive a score high enough to get noticed by all of your top choice residency programs. First, let's cover how you should break down your studying for Step 2. Just like Step 1, there are 2 phases to your Step 2 prep: the pre-dedicated period and the dedicated period. The pre-dedicated period consists of the months before your exam, and the dedicated period comprises the weeks leading up to your test date. Before Step 1 became pass-fail, the study schedule for Step 2 CK was much lighter, with many students taking just 2 to 4 weeks to study. However, with this change, studying for Step 2 CK has of course become more serious. Starting with the pre-dedicated period. Step 2 has a heavy clinical focus and is based on the information you will acquire during your medical school rotations, which means you're at a significant disadvantage if you take it before your clerkships. If you've completed many of your clerkships, you've actually been studying for it indirectly. That real-life experience serves as an active learning opportunity that sticks. Studying for your shelf exams and building your knowledge and skills during the day-to-day of your clerkships will be a crucial piece of your pre-dedicated period. Study before rounds and do flashcards during your downtime. A few flashcards here and there while you're waiting for an attending or between cases can add up quickly. Using this method, I was often able to get through roughly half of my due cards that day before I even left the hospital or clinic. It's also important to take a pass through the UWorld or AMBOSS question bank, but not necessarily both. Set a daily question quota in order to get through the entire question bank before dedicated starts. Some students choose to take Step 2 before completing any of their clerkships, but I strongly advise against this. The knowledge gained during your third-year clerkships will provide a much stronger base to build upon during your dedicated period. Alright, so let's talk about your dedicated period. Your dedicated study period for Step 2 often varies between 4 to 6 weeks depending on your school schedule and policies, and will occur between your rotations. Factor in the number of clerkships you have under your belt to determine how long your dedicated period should be. Choose only a few key resources to focus on. A big mistake is spreading yourself too thin across resources. Use Anki for content review and spaced repetition, and practice answering as many questions as you can with a high-quality QBank like UWorld or AMBOSS. Take a practice test early on in your dedicated period to determine any weak areas, and take more tests as you approach the end of your dedicated period. This will help you master your pacing and enhance your endurance. Make no mistake, Step 2 is definitely a test of endurance, so the more you practice, the more likely you are to succeed. And remember, practice tests aren't just for assessment, but also serve as a potent active study technique when treated properly. Review the practice test thoroughly to see where you struggle most and how long it takes you to answer the different question formats. Focus your preparation on any weak areas. In fact, for more tips, we have a full video on how to use practice questions and practice tests most effectively in this video up here. Take the NBME Free 120 before your test. The material it covers is extremely high yield. Plus, you may even find a few of the same questions on your real Step 2 exam. If you often struggle with test anxiety, you can register for an in-person practice session at various Prometric testing facilities. But do not take a practice test during the 48 to 72 hours before your test so that you're fresh for the real thing. Alright, now that you understand your studying timeline, let's jump into the strategies. Now first, understand the format of Step 2, as it's a different beast than Step 1. The correct answers will be much more difficult to determine, and it's easy to get stuck. Treatment, diagnosis, prevention, research, and ethics are the 5 main things tested on Step 2, and this encompasses a ton of different material. Step 2 has a few different question formats, including SOAP notes, standing for Subjective, Objective, Assessment, and Plan. SOAP notes provide the vignette in a much more realistic environment. Rather than being provided a paragraph vignette that details the patient's vitals, symptoms, physical exam, and test results, you're given a 1-page SOAP note that thoroughly outlines the patient visit in a bulleted format. After reading through all of this information, you'll be asked questions that range from diagnosis to medication management. This format makes it difficult to skim the information and answer the question within a short time frame, although identifying buzzwords and patterns can prove helpful. When it comes to SOAP notes, read over the associated questions before the note so that you can better hunt for the information, similar to what you did for the MCAT CARS passages. Certain sections will have 38 questions instead of 40. This indicates that you're going to come across a complex ad for a new drug or a research abstract you will need to dissect. Much like the MCAT, you must read the ad or abstract and make conclusions about it, such as if the research is biased or how it will affect patients in different demographic profiles. These questions require a great deal of time and critical thinking energy to arrive at the right conclusion. There's likely superfluous information included in the abstracts, which further complicates things. Read the associated questions first to know what you're looking for. These questions are designed to test your judgment. There's not always a single correct answer, so if you get stuck, select your best guess and flag the question to come back to it later, but in the meantime, move on to the next one. Remember, each question has the same value and there are no penalties for wrong answers. Second, put focus on your ethical judgment. The ethical questions on step 2, they're no joke. They are multi-layered, multifaceted, part legal, and part ethical. Practice all of them because they are becoming a larger component of step 2. Ethical questions are designed to test your judgment, problem solving, and decision making. To prepare, thoroughly review your ethical reasoning by regularly completing practice questions. When doing so, only allow yourself so much time per question to arrive at an answer. Many questions do not have clear or straightforward answers, and you only have so much time to respond to them. Be prepared to make quick decisions based on your own judgment and ethical understanding. Some questions are a lot like the CARS section on the MCAT or CASPER. In other words, these questions resemble situational judgment tests that require to use your previous knowledge, ethical code, and reasoning to reach an answer. Next, schedule an NBME comprehensive clinical science self-assessment and choose the standard pacing option that mimics the live testing environment. This will evaluate your readiness, determine how you perform under pressure, allow you to view answer explanations, and approximate your score for the real test. While it does come with a $60 fee, taking a simulated step 2 is vital to determining your readiness. To get as close to the real thing as you can, consider registering for an in-person practice session at ProMesting testing facilities. Don't go in blind. The more you practice under the real test conditions, the more confident you'll feel when the big day actually arrives. Next, make the most of your clerkships by completing at least the big 4 clerkships before you take step 2. That's internal medicine, surgery, OB-GYN, and pediatrics. The clinical and shelf exam experience will greatly enhance your foundational clinical knowledge. The more clerkships you complete, the better prepared you'll be for Step 2 CK. Shelf exams will give you a window into what is tested on Step 2, and the exams can make excellent question banks for studying after you complete them, though the questions on Step 2 will be more challenging. No matter your interest level, give every clerkship your all. Every attending, resident, and hospital staff member has something unique to teach you, and their opinion will make it onto your MSPE one way or another. Utilize the shelf exams as another question bank. Shelf exams are licensed by the National Board of Medical Examiners, or NBME, the same organization that designs the USMLE STEP exams, so they follow the same format. They're called shelf exams because they're made up of shelved or expired Step 1 and Step 2 questions from prior exams, and this makes them a great study resource. Lastly, prioritize your wellness during this hectic time. Between schoolwork, exams, extracurriculars, studying, and clerkships, there's not much time left over. With all of these responsibilities, finding extra time for self-care won't come naturally. However, it is crucial for your health and future success that you carve out some time for wellness and balance. You'll be busier than ever as you ramp up your studying for Step 2, but it's impossible to study effectively 24/7. While it can seem like a break is a waste of time, taking regular breaks is essential to maintaining your focus and efficiency, and what you do with this time matters. During your downtime, focus on healthy, rejuvenating activities like exercise, stretching, hobbies you enjoy, meditation, and spending time outside in nature. Social media or television may be relaxing, but they aren't restorative activities, so they won't give you the rest you need. There's still a long way to go after Step 2, so don't burn yourself out so far from the finish line. Developing healthy habits now will help you succeed in residency and beyond. Before I wrap up this video, these are the key resources you'll need when preparing for Step 2. First, of course, UWorld. UWorld is a comprehensive question bank. It's considered by most students to be the highest yield resource for all STEP and shelf exams because, in terms of both content and difficulty, the questions are quite similar to the ones you'll find on the real thing. Amboss is another question bank with USMLE style questions, but it was originally designed specifically for Step 2, which makes it especially useful this time around. It comes with a clinical library many students find particularly helpful during the clinical years of medical school, and has the added benefit of allowing you to gather additional information directly on the platform. We've heard from a number of students in recent years who prefer Amboss to UWorld. Next, you can't forget Anki. Clinical Anki decks are essential for content review, and Anki is the go-to for spaced repetition in medical school, since MEM is only available for the MCAT currently. The Anking Step 2 CK deck is the most thorough pre-made deck out there. Next, Divine Intervention Podcasts. The Divine Intervention Podcast features comprehensive reviews of shelf and Step 2 topics and comes with a Step 2 deck. And finally, practice exams. For practice exams, stick with the NBME practice tests and the UWorld self-assessments. Already having an NBME or USMLE account will simplify the process of getting practice exams and your score reports. To state the obvious, a low score on Step 2 is not a good look. The strength of your score heavily impacts which specialty paths are open to you. Even an average or slightly above average score is not enough to get noticed by competitive programs. While you can technically take Step 2 again if you fail, residency programs can see how many times you've taken Step 2, and they see each student as an investment. If you received a middling score on Step 2 or outright failed the test, you are a riskier investment. If you want to take your Step 2 prep to the next level and leave no uncertainty, work with us at Med School Insiders. We offer fully customizable USMLE Step 2 CK tutoring that will provide you the peace of mind. Each of our tutors aced USMLE Step 2 by utilizing the Med School Insiders methodology, which means you're going to be learning from the best. At Med School Insiders, we believe no two students are the same. This is why we emphasize a diagnostic process to evaluate where you can make the greatest improvements. We assess students when they first come in, and then focus our efforts on their areas of greatest weakness. This insight is essential as it points to how we're going to achieve the maximal score improvement in the shortest period of time. We offer one-on-one mentorship with your tutor, as well as a custom approach designed specifically to suit your strengths, weaknesses, and personal habits. Learn more about our tutoring linked in the description. And if you enjoyed this video and want me to speak about other aspects of medical school or the residency application process, let me know in the comments. Much love, my friends, and I'll see you all in that next one.